afternoon, my beautiful babes and babettes. I'm your resident active advocate, and let's talk about yesterday, because yesterday was interesting. I watched Brother Bear for the first time in my life, and I was not aware that I would need a research day, but I needed a research day, which is why I did not make a video yesterday. Sincerest apologies, but you'll get a higher quality video for having to wait 24 hours-ish. Okay, so, Brother Bear, this is a step in the right direction, Disney. Good job, Disney! They actually look indigenous, Disney! I'm happy, but it's also a mixed bag, alright? Going in the right direction, but it's a mixed bag. So, to begin, our main character, Kenai, is a bit of a jerk, and at the beginning of the movie, he is assigned the animal totem of the Bear of Love. His brothers proceed to make fun of him for this, but the idea of your animal totem is that it represents a trait that is seen in you by the female shaman of the band, who assigns the totems based on what you need to work on in order to make your character complete. Let's talk about Northern Indigenous religions, plural. This is not going to be something that is universal, because we're talking about a absolutely phenomenally massive stretch of land here that is inhabited and has been inhabited for the past 20,000 years by Inuit peoples of various tribes, various cultures, various languages. So we're talking here about a stretch of land that goes all the way from northeastern Russia down to Greenland, okay? I looked this up, and this area of land, go look at a map if you can, but this area of land is bigger than the entire EU combined, all right? This is just massive, phenomenally massive amount of land up here. Very sparsely populated, mind, but very sparsely populated by people who know what they're doing. All right? So, let's do a little bit of background on what this movie does wrong before I get into what this movie does right. What this movie does wrong, part A. These people are portrayed as riding around and as well as hunting mammoths, which went extinct roughly in 10,500 BCE, at least on the mainland. There were several hundred of them that actually got stuck on an island that was separated from the mainland due to the flow of ice towards the end of the last ice age. And the mammoths on that island managed to breed together and survive for another 7,000 years, which is very impressive, but they also went extinct. So, starting our timeline in 10,500 BCE, okay? The problem I have with this is that the choir that you hear singing throughout the movie, they sing in an Inuit language called Inupiaq. I did my research on this. That language did not exist until approximately 5,000 years ago, so 3000 BC. This is an example of what's called anachronism. It means outside of time, or something that does not fit in that time, okay? If you look through various movies, you can find examples of this. I believe in Gladiator, there's one of the actors forgot to take off their wristwatch, and that movie is set in ancient Rome. So that's an anachronism, though, okay? I don't as much have a problem with them using Inupiaq. That's actually pretty cool. The problem I have with the use of Inupiaq is that it is sung not by Inuit people. The chorus does not consist of Inuit people. It consists of a Bulgarian women's choir. This is not the first time Disney has pulled this stunt with other cultures singing other cultures' languages. I think it was done to make it sound more foreign, shall we say, foreign to the ear. Just because of the style that this particular choir has. We get a bunch of very high sopranos. So we're talking soprano 1, which is the higher of the two soprano grades, through soprano 1 and 2. A bunch of very high sopranos and a bunch of very, very low altos. So alto 2. I'm an alto 2 when I sing, by the way. That's the lower of the two alto ranges. Mostly for females, you get soprano and alto. But the problem I have with that, therefore, is that it is somewhat in the way of cultural appropriation. I would definitely argue that. But we're moving in the right direction from Pocahontas, where they learn to speak to each other through magical nature magic. That's an issue. All right. So let's talk about what this movie does right. Kenai is a bit of a jerk, as I may have mentioned. He is our main character, as I may also have mentioned. And he gets one of his brothers killed by throwing rocks at a bear. No matter how young and stupid you are, if you live in this climate, you are not going to be stupid enough to do that. I'm sorry, you don't antagonize a very large mammal. But because he does this, the animal totem that was assigned to him by the shaman of his tribe was the bear of love, and that is a character trait that Kenai has to work on. That's how your totem is assigned to you. It's a trait that the shaman sees in you, but sees that you also have to work on to make yourself a more complete person. So Kenai is transformed through magical nature magic into a bear. To be fair, Inuit people in modern times do believe in the existence of spirit and animal guides, all right? Oftentimes in Indigenous cultures, guides will take the form of animal spirits, and different animals will have different character traits ascribed to them. So the bear of love, for example, or one of his brothers has the eagle of guidance, and he is, that particular brother is very wise and is a good guide for his younger brothers. He's also the one who gets killed off by the bear after it attempts to kill Kenai for antagonizing it. Right, so Kenai is transformed into a bear and can only speak in bear. I really like that aspect because the humans around him can't understand him through magical spirit magic or magical nature magic. It's great. That part is good. Other animals, however, can understand him. One of the things, and this is punching up, okay? This is not punching down. One of the things I really enjoy about this movie is the moose. I'm sorry, I have a thing about this. They have really strong stereotypical Canadian accents, Derry, and I have never heard a Canadian talk like this, Derry. Given that I am Canadian, can we just discuss how hilarious that is? I really like that. For anyone who has not seen this movie, you're probably going to get a laugh out of the moose because they're basically Bob and Doug McKenzie. For anyone who hasn't heard of them, they're more old-timey sort of Canadian comedians, and they definitely talk in that stereotypical accent, Derry. I don't know if they even talk like that in Newfoundland, and even in Canada, we have stereotypes about Newfoundlanders who supposedly talk like this, Derry. But getting back to the plot, meanwhile, back at the plot, Kenai makes friends with a little bear who's adorable and teaches Kenai the ways of being a bear. It's like, wow, you're a really awkward bear, and just talks his ear off, annoys him to no end. But later on in the movie, the little bear tells the story of how its mother was encountered by some hunters who attempted to kill her while she was defending the little bear cub telling the story. And Kenai puts two and two together and goes, oh, that bear killed my brother. That bear was the bear I was antagonizing. And I killed that bear? So Kenai, by this point, though, has made a better relationship with this little brother bear, roll credits, and goes through with it and tells him the story of what happened and reveals to him that, yeah, by the way, I'm actually a human that got turned into a bear through magical spirit magic, but now I understand why. I understand why the totem I was given at the beginning of the movie was the bear of love. It's because I had to learn compassion for creatures other than myself, and especially for the creatures that I hunted. Even though your mother killed my brother, it wasn't her fault, it was my fault. And I killed your mother out of anger, out of vengeance, and I performed a very improper act. So his little brother bear kind of goes running off, but Kenai has so much regret and is in so much emotional pain by this point that the little brother bear, being wise beyond his years, realizes he needs me, and I need him. We need one another because I don't have a mother. He's a bear, so he doesn't have a family. His other brother, by the way, had been hunting him, thinking that he was the bear who had killed the elder brother. And because Kenai had disappeared, this other brother assumed that this bear had also come back and finished off Kenai. So he was about to do the same thing to Kenai as Kenai had done to Brother Bear's mother out of anger, out of vengeance, right? Kenai, towards the end of the movie, because of the lesson he had learned, is able to transform back into a human via his dead brother's influence, okay? Here's basically the whole idea here is that his brother, who was killed by the bear Kenai had antagonized, comes back to Kenai in spirit form as the eagle of guidance and transforms him into the bear, into Kenai's own totem. And by the end of the movie, because Kenai has learned his lesson, he is able to be transformed back into his human self. But because he has well and thoroughly learned his lesson, he says to his surviving brother, "I can't be a human. I'm needed where I'm needed, and I killed this cub's mother. I am responsible for his care. I have to go back." And he asks the spirit of his dead brother, "Don't leave me human. Don't leave me human. Turn me back into a bear." And he's turned back into a bear, and they all live happily ever after. So, it is a mixed bag in the form of cultural appropriation through the choir, but it's also kind of a mixed bag in the sense that Indigenous peoples do, as I say, believe in the existence of animal spirit guides, but the whole idea of actually being transformed into your spirit animal to learn the lesson that is imparted by it is a little whacked out and messed up. One other thing that this movie does get right, and which I did not address to this point, I will not say all because I'm not sure, most Indigenous cultures are matriarchal. Mothers, grandmothers, will be the leaders of the family, for the most part, and will also be the spiritual leaders of the community, for the most part. There are male shamans, there are male chiefs, there are male leaders, there are elements of patriarchy, but for the most part, if you are talking particularly traditional Indigenous societies, it will be the women who make the decisions. And in terms of the shamanism present in this movie, that is reasonably accurate from what I could find to how it is and how it would have been in the long distant past for Inuit peoples of the far north on this planet. Because there are also supposed to be evil shamans and good shamans, but those who work with the spirits and attempt to understand the lessons that they impart will not pervert the spirits and will not go against their wishes. So, a lot of activism that comes out of the northern bands has to do with environmentalism, especially since climate change is very, very severely impacting their way of life and also the way of life of the animals around them with whom they live and which they hunt. But at the same time, the whole idea is that we are not here to conquer nature. We are among nature. We live in and with and for and by nature. That's the reason why they've lasted this long. The whole idea is to become part of your environment and to live as well as you can within it, rather than to attempt to subjugate it. So I'm not saying that this is a universal principle of any sort, okay? I'm not one to judge whether it is. It probably isn't. But the sense that I got from this little mini documentary that I watched on the culture is that the people need to work with their environment, not against it, because if they work against it, they're going to lose their way of life and all of the stuff that they've been able to retain literally for millennia, thousands and thousands of years. So the movie has a bit of an issue with cultural appropriation and quite a bit of an issue with anachronism. But one of the things that you associate with the far, far north is the woolly mammoth, which was able to survive in extremely harsh conditions. You also have the association of the Inuit people with the huge fur coats and the harpoons and that sort of thing, and with magical nature magic. But there's a lot less of that here than there was in Pocahontas. Disney, I'm so proud of you. You're learning. Yay! Well done. You're learning. Um, so it's interesting to see how far they could go in the course of 10 years. I believe it was 10 years actually between the making of Pocahontas and the making of Brother Bear. So, good job. Thumbs up. You got a ways to go, but thumbs up nonetheless. So, that is Brother Bear, and I hope we have enjoyed. And check this movie out if you don't know it, actually, because, like I say, it's not that bad. Compared to how it could have been, this went quite well. And I thought it was very enjoyable. So, yeah, that is my analysis of the day. And since it is Friday, I will not have a video tomorrow because I take weekends off. So I'll see y'all on Monday for another video on another movie. I don't know what movie we're doing next, but I have an official list. Hurrah! All right, so have a lovely, wonderful weekend, and I will see you all on Monday. Mwah!